we have a really good acoustic system in this room right now, and we're talking, or someone's presenting, if you're talking to your neighbor, it's all picked up on the audio. So, that's all I want to say. Adoption of the agenda. Any discussion on that? Resolved that the agenda for the May 12, 2045 Board of Directors meeting be adopted as presented. I need a mover. Yeah. And seconder, Paul.
Don't we usually have the lights?
They're overhead now.
Oh, I think that's why they can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Oh.
MVCA. And that's why everything gets captured. Yeah.
Oh,
got it. All in favor? Sure. Approval of the minutes. Any discussion on that? Motion resolved that the minutes of the Board of Directors annual general meeting held on April 14, 2045 be received and approved as printed. Need a new left. And held. All in favor? There. First presenter today is Jennifer.
Okay, so majority of our lakes are now close to their summer target. We are currently slowly bringing down levels and replacing logs over the next few weeks to make sure we meet the requirements for fisheries. That's wildlife and wildlife, so nesting loons and ducks. While ensuring summer levels are set along weekend and May. Flows have been slowly dropping down from the spring peak, and we're now been on with our historical normals for this time of year. So you can see, so the 2025 fresh depth is in the red. We had a fairly average spring this year, so our average spring peak for the system is 150 CMS, and we just hit 150. Well, we got to, I think, 160 on the river, so we were very, very close to an average. Cross Lake is now at its summer target, and it is again been on with the historical average at this time of year. We will maintain levels on this lake to sustain flows throughout the system during the summer months. So we usually don't start drawing down that lake until July. So we'll just be stabilizing levels until then. Flows levels in the lower reaches of the system, including Deputy Lake, Mississippi Lake, will continue to drop down to summer normals over the next couple weeks. The Ottawa River freshet has been in full swing over the last couple weeks. Water levels and flows have been steadily rising along the Ottawa River due to the seasonal rain combined with the ongoing snow melt in the northern basin. MVCA issued a flood warning for the Ottawa River on May 1st. It has now been downgraded to a flood watch last week. Water levels and flows on the main stem of the Ottawa River just peaked and are expected to continue to decline over the next week, barring any significant rain. So rainfall will continue to be the controlling factor for high and low water conditions on our lakes and rivers heading into the recreational season. It is a very cautious time for us. Now that the system is now full. We now want minimal storage capacity. So we are at risk for any large significant rain events. But MVCA staff will continue to actively monitor and manage the system. Questions?
Saying none, thank you very much. And we have a presentation of River Watershed Monitoring Network expansion. Amy.
So I'm Amy and she'll talk about in the people that are part of the watershed monitoring network. Our agenda today is we prepare the watershed, but levels rate and survey, and we go some. So this is a map. This is a map. The MVCA is active and temporary gauge stations on the Brook River and major Park River tributaries. The purple symbols, as you can see on the map, represent my permanent gauge stations, and the red symbols represent my temporary gauge station. We are monitoring levels along the Brook River and its tributaries as part of our flood forecasting and warning program, and support our floodplain management studies. So current active gauges are in Park River at Glen Karen, Richardson, Sky Road, Upstate Creek, Cool Creek, and Beano Creek. We plan to install a permanent gauge station at Glen Karen this summer, which will consist of a solar panel, battery, data logger, a pressure transducer sensor, as well as a weather station, which includes an air temperature sensor and a wind gauge. So you can see here on the right to the slide is a wind gauge, and middle is our gauge station setup. So this site is in the upper Park River, which will allow us to monitor the Park River's instant response to rain events. Temporary local data loggers and stilling wells were installed at our temporary water level monitoring sites. So Cart tributary A here is shown on the left slide. So we currently display our permanent Park River and tributary gauge stations on our web cycle. Our staff consult the DPC every day to make our informed decisions and the photo on the slide is displaying water levels and precipitation at 3 of these represented tributaries. So you can see the blue line is representing the water levels and precipitation is displayed above. MVCA recently acquired the Trimble GNSS vector SP60 RTK as featured on the left of the slide. We use them to validate water levels and for the nutrient projects. We also acquired the off-flow meter, which we use in addition to our PDCP, which is a stone tempered by acoustic delta current provider for flow measurements. This year we are conducting flow monitoring at the Park River at Glen Karen, as well as Cool Creek and Beano Creek. We are currently focusing on conducting flow measurements of the major rain events when water levels and flows are elevated. So Bob will now speak more about our flow measurement data and using the data to develop indicators.
Afternoon, everyone. Okay, so for our flows, we follow our stream flow rating curve work plan, which details how to collect the data, what equipment we will use, how to export the data, and finally, how to use the data to build a rating curve. Our team closely monitors the weather for any incoming rain event. If there are any rain events above 5 millimeters, we go out in the field to measure the flow data from our study locations. As you can see, we utilize both the APP, the picture on the left. Then we have the ONT, which Amy is located in the middle, and to measure our flow data. And after we have collected our data, we export it into an Excel file, which you can see on the right, for review. After capturing significant rainfall events, we can generate an equation that depicts a good relationship with flows and its corresponding water level. Once we have the equation, we can use the water level data that we have from our gauges to generate a complete flow data set. We plot flows versus water levels, which gives us our rating curve, as you can see the graph. So the graph is an example of the data collected from Park tributary A. The orange dots, it's kind of small, but yeah, it represents the flow measurements that we make. As you can see, we have some low flow events and a few high flow events, and the blue line represents all the flow data generated using the equation. The accuracy of our data, it really depends on how many big rainfall events we capture. So in a very rainy season, we can get some very reliable data. We also have been collaborating with Water Survey of Canada to improve our methodology and work. And we are in collaboration with the City of Ottawa on several floodplain mapping projects, for example, Kinburn and the 3 Carpenter tributaries. So the data we collect is essential for our floodplain mapping projects. We feed the data into our hydraulic modeling system, so we can have an idea of the extent of flooding for a big rain event. For example, as you can see from the map, it's one of our previous feed mill models. The red line indicates the extent of flooding for a 100-year rain event. This then informs our flood forecasting and warning programs. Once we know the extent of flooding due to certain amounts of rainfall, you can issue appropriate warnings for any future rain events, which helps mitigate flood damage and improve public safety. For future plans, this data will help us with our climate change, wetland, and watershed studies. We will have all this data publicly available on our website for everyone to access, which will be a very good way to engage with the public and make them aware of what we are doing as an organization. Thank you. Oh. Okay, that's the last slide. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Okay,
Rick, I think we're real at one point, but the station data from all your stations, are you saying that's on the website? No?
Not
No. Okay. Okay, so would it be possible for me to get a copy of this presentation?
yeah, sure.
All right, thanks, because I just I want to put something on the Friends of the River website and same good stuff. I just want to, so if I can get a copy, and I'll check it through you guys before. Thank you.
any other questions? Mary Lou?
Where exactly is that picture?
Captain's School Creek, at Maple Grove.
Stittsville.
Any other questions? Richard?
Sounds like we're reinventing the wheel here. We've not been doing this for years on like a great big body listed watershed. And then we're talking about something that wide. We're doing all this research in it. So
Yeah, I'll give an initial answer and then I'll turn it over to Euro if you want to expand. So large swaths of our watershed do not have comprehensive grading purpose. The majority of our watershed actually doesn't have a floodplain mapping. And Carp River is the most developed portion of our entire jurisdiction. And so we are filling a gap that is long standing within jurisdiction. And the other thing about the carp is it looks like this right there. In the springtime, it's mammoth. You know, it's a very, flat floodplain area that it floods extensively when it's flooding, right? And so we.
doubles its size, right?
Oh, no, like it's a football field wide, not double. It's enormous when it floods. So, and we've had any number of cut and fill applications because developers, this is Stittsville, Canada, high pressure zone area for development, every square meter they want to develop. So this is part of a comprehensive, cut and fill negotiation that was done over a period of 10 years between the city and the various developers. And we're constantly trying to keep up with the pace of development. So it's actually really critical that we do this, and as well because of the rate of change within this watershed on the cart, there have been consequences we suspect downstream. Because in this, when we think of Ontario, so many urban centers are at the outlet right? You know, they're draining into Lake Ontario, so it's, you know, it's at the confluence between two. In this instance, Fiscal Carp are at the headwaters of this, and all that volume of water is coming downstream. And it is having consequences on the downstream receiving landowners. And so this work is not only intended to facilitate development where, you know, there's the pressure, but also to help understand and map out how we're gonna cope with the downstream.
And where is it downstream?
Downstream, so it goes, well, we'll be going there on our watershed tour this year. But it's, it heads up to Cardiff and north beyond where Janet lives, lives north of Cardiff. And then drains out near, it's our heart.
Good.
Europe, did you wanna add anything to that?
I think mainly Charlie just to maybe mention that until now, we actually had no data in the Hard River watershed, and it's the area since we can look on the open development is happening in our watershed. And you know, here, the application reviews permits, all our upland hunting, plus majority of our upland hunting projects are in the Hard River watershed, right? So we, this data will really help us to support all these studies.
If I could just add one thing on that, Stacy just reminded me, so the city is funding this 50%. In addition to their regular levy, this is a special project we're under contract with the city to do. And they're funding 50% of that stuff.
Paul?
Okay, great presentation. If you back it up to where you showed the floodplain thing. When you're doing the presentation, if you're trying to do that to people, could you make that walk line white? Because the red was not showing up. Oh, just for future things, like great presentation, but since I criticized most of the presentation, I can't see the rest of it.
Okay, Paul, I'm colorblind and I cannot see the red, and I can't see the other colors of those dots either.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anyone online have a question? No? Okay, thank you, in Quebec.
You can't see that. Oh, I see that one better.
Yes.
That's personal. It's clear.
Great, I look forward, anything up there, sorry.
You need to, just so everybody knows, we're having an offline meeting with Jeannie after this meeting to go into some more details with her, so you're getting the Reader's Digest version here. But the DSR planning was completed, and one thing is that different to the normal safety matters that we will bring us up to the current code, so to speak, was their analysis of our slopes of stability. The upstream slopes are not necessarily looking like they're meeting current required safety factors. So this is based upon a certain level of investigation and analysis on their part. So they have recommended that we go into a geotechnical study to verify or refute their analysis and conclusions. So we did have money in the budget last year. You'll see when Stacy does her Q1 report, the various reasons that money didn't get put forward into this year. So the money had been set aside previous year. Rest, it's not money now, say. The aerial photography, there was a question last month about whether it could be shared. So it turns out we don't have the infrastructure to do this, but MVCA does. So they will be posting it and we'll let you know when that's available. Other things I wanted to highlight. So we are having our mini conference on May 28th on parklands and trails, and many of your staff are attending and you're getting good participation from other agencies and the like. So Richard's going to be speaking, Janet's going to be speaking, and I'm really looking forward to this. So the main thing is to, at a watershed level, for all of those who are in the land, ownership and operations for major parks and trails to get together and exchange knowledge and look at future opportunities for collaboration. Yes.
Has the information about
this Parkland and Trails Meeting Conference been sent to the staff of the participating townships?
Absolutely, yeah. I can't recall if anybody from Mississippi Mills has signed up yet, but we did send out a reminder last week and we'll be sending another one today, this week, so not till the 28th, but it certainly, by all means, talk to your staff. I encourage them to attend, because I think it'll be great learning. I mean, we have a presentation from North Frontenac on the parklands. I think that would be really great. Actually, Jeannie, I think Minor Highlands would be very interested in that, because you have a lot of parklands there as well. So I think there's going to be something for everybody there, and looking forward to that. Mentioned the board tour, and this is mentioned in my report on the strategic plan, because I'm recommending that maybe we take the morning to do strategic planning as a board. But I just wanted to let you know a bit more, because we just found out today, Scott looked into whether we could get into Shatwell's generating feed station, because we're wanting to do the lower watershed this time. And we just confirmed today. So if you guys wear long pants and fully enclosed toed shoes, then we can all go and check out a hydro-generating plant on that one river. So in advance on that, we're gonna be going to the Milky Tail, which many of you don't have the opportunity to visit, as well as the Morris Island property. So, and if there are some things we could take in en route, we'll do that as well. I also wanted to make you guys all aware, because you have residents living on wells, that the Mississippi Radio Source Protection Committee is, or region is hosting a webinar that's open to all your citizens, residents. I mentioned it on page 4 of the GM update, and there's a link there that you can share with your constituents if they want to participate. Another thing I want to raise, I'm moving into more external things, the 50/50 fundraiser. It's now in its 3rd week. We're not where we want to be, and we've encountered some technical challenges that we're still trying to grapple with. Technology has not been our friend on this one. So to the extent that you're able to share information on the foundation fundraiser with your on your social networks and like, we're going to send information out to you today with various links and the like. And I say that please share it and encourage folks to participate to help support the various category 3 programs that we deliver. The one that I think resonates with a lot of people is the education program that we run for school districts and the like. Next thing I wanted to highlight was Bill 5, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. The key thing here is the province will be providing for designation of certain projects, along with the province and proponents that can will be eligible for exemptions from various permitting approvals and other sorts of requirements that may also include municipal bylaws. So we're waiting, obviously, for the regulations to come out. Well, for that bill to be adopted into legislation and then the implementing regulations. But I suspect PAs may get, included in any sort of changes. And then you may have seen on Friday the notice about a bill that may already be in the legislature right now. Ontario Getting Homes and Infrastructure Built Faster and Smarter Act. So again, the notice on that mentioned 20 implementing measures. And so we're going to be monitoring that obviously in the coming weeks to see what, if any, impacts there on our conservation authorities. And I guess my general comment would be that as your conservation authority, of course, we'll support you in any way you need, depending on what happens. And we understand that this is changing things that's much more for you guys probably than it is for us. So, just we'll have future conversations depending on what unfolds. So, and was there anything else I want to yeah, back to the private wells. The Auditor General did release a report in March that says that people are under testing their private wells. So another reason to push we noticed about that webinar where people can learn about how to monitor and manage their wells safely. And I think that's it that I wanted to highlight. Happy to answer any questions on those or anything else.
Any questions for Sally? Glenn?
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Sally. I wanted to ask about Bill 5. If there are any key messages that you might want us to share if we have the opportunity with provincial elected officials or with the general public as they relate to the Conservation's authorities mandate and operations.
So attached to the GM report is a draft letter that was prepared by Conservation Ontario, and I personally am reticent to deviate from like Conservation Ontario messaging is, but I think just generally that particularly with smaller jurisdictions, it's different for the city and the like and large jurisdictions that have a lot of different, very specialized stuff. That the vast majority of Ontario's 444 municipalities do not have that in-house expertise, and they do rely upon the CA. That would be my key message.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Sally? Okay, thank you, Sally. Item 5, is you're going to do this, talk about first step. That's about lake dam replacement design and build.
Right, good afternoon. So as you know, Kashwakamak Lake Dam has been MVCA privately capital infrastructure project since 2020, when we completed a risk assessment study for the dam, which initiated a comprehensive dam safety review that followed in 2021 and 2022. And dam safety review confirmed that the dam needs to be replaced within the next 5 years. But then in 2023, MVCA launched the Class EA process, which was completed earlier this year. And this Class EA also confirmed that the replacement of the dam at the same location is the preferred technical solution for the project. So basically, the remaining phases of this project, preliminary details, permitting process, tendering process, and construction, were then scoped into a design build project. The RFP went out in March. The process closed last month. MVCA received 5 submissions from 5 consulting firms, which we then ranked based on evaluation criteria, which I provided in detail in my report. And then we basically did the ranking, and SEMA Plus received the highest rank, 82.3 points. And SEMA Plus is Canadian company. They have 40 offices across the nation. I think about 10 offices in Ontario alone, including an office in Ottawa. They employ about 3,500 people. In Ontario, they have staff to about 600-700 people. They are well established in their engineering fields, their energy and resource division has completed over 200 dam and hydropower projects across the country. So our recommendation is to work to the board is to award this project to SEMA Plus on the amount of $490,065. And we also recommend the board to authorize an emphasis on features given the size and complexity and duration of this project. Finally, I would like to say that MVCA was successful securing federal funding from Infrastructure Canada with the DEMA program, which basically covers up to 40% of all eligible costs for the project, and this is supplemented by the provincial funding, which then can cover up to 50% of the remaining project costs. So combined, these 2 funding sources can basically cover up to 70% of the project. Thank you for your attention, and this is another questions.
Any questions for Euro? Bureau, I have one question. Do you have a rough idea when this project is gonna start, the actual physical construction?
Construction, our best hope is on fall next year, 2026, but I would just be cautious. It's really, the process will be very intensive, complex, a lot of permits we need to secure. So I would be like, the earliest, I would say it's fall 2026, but 2027, I think is more realistic.
And we're gonna keep Cataraqui Lake Association up to date and all this, and we're not gonna do it on high season in the summer, right?
I'll be sending them an update for today.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we should motion. Resolve that the board of directors approve, one, award the Cataraqui Lake Dam Design Bid Build Engineering Project with SEMA Plus in the amount of $490,065 plus HSP. And two, a 10% contingency allowance to be drawn as required from the WECI Capital Reserve. Do I have someone to move that? Yeah. Second it, all in favor? Carried. Item 6, you want to say anything about this first? Ellen?
I don't have to, if you don't think that's.
I don't know, I'm not.
So typically, the manager of planning and formally regulations, now signature, would sign off on most permit applications coming into the building, with your signing off on more technical types of permits that come in. And so with the departure, he's probably on a boat or in his barn right now of Matthew. That we need to appoint Ben to have that same regulatory authority on behalf of MVCA. So that's what this is to do.
The questions before I read the motion. Board of Directors delegate permit approval and signing authority under section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act to Benjamin Dobson, manager, planning and stewardship. I need someone to move that. Dana? Mary Lou seconds it. All in favor? Carried. Instead of the financial update, if Stacy has something.
We just have something.
Yeah.
Presentation. If you can, it's not a big deal. Who's that? We're a quarter of the way through the year, but overall, we're only at about 19-20%, which is normal, because a lot of our work is more in the quarter 2 and 3. The breakdown between the categories: category 1, we're at 20%. Category 2, we're at about 10%, category 3, 15%, and capital, we're at about 11% of what was budgeted. We did run into, as Sally alluded to, an issue with 2 capital projects that had been in the planning and budget was in 2024. They didn't get finalized and completed, and those budget items didn't get carried forward. So we're asking for to, at this point, draw out extra funding for 2025 out of reserves. That's the ladder dam. There's about 55,000 there. And the IT, the AV project in this boardroom, that's just under 50,000. So we're asking, the motion is to ask for that money to be withdrawn from the reserves to not impact the rest of the operating budgets and cabinet budgets for 2025. Other than that, there's no, in my presentation, there were no significant updates on the projections and flows. However, I opened my email 10 minutes before this meeting, and we did get the notice that we didn't get any of our student grant funding. So that's about 45,000 that we budgeted. We'd only counted on getting about 40% because we had issues, but we didn't get any. So that'll be a juggle on the next Q2. I'll incorporate how we adjust for that. Were there any
questions for
Questions?
Stacy?
If I could just clarify again for both the AV, because I saw some concern looks, the AV, it was the monies in total were budgeted last year. It just, the billing came in this year and we put the money back in the reserve. Now we need to extract it, yes, okay? So these aren't extras that we're paying for, in both that and the land use plan, there's money we had set aside last year, we put back in a pit, PD bank, we need to put back in. That's all it is. Okay. Didn't want you to think it was extra.
No. Apologize.
Any other questions? Any questions online? I don't see anything. Kelly? All right, then I'll read the motion. Resolved that the board of directors approve withdrawal of funds from restricted reserves for 2024 budgeted projects that continued into 2025 and for which unspent funds were not brought forward to 2025. Specifically, A, drawdown of water control structure reserve by 55,000 for work related to the Lanark DSR, and B, drawdown of the information technology reserve of 50,000 for the AV equipment update. Need someone to move that? Janet? Someone second that? Paul? All in favor? Good. Okay, item 8, Milliken Town Museum. Scott, of the presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wanted to touch base a little update on the strategic plans for the local government museum. So MVCA wants to update the strategic plan for the museum every 5 years to remain eligible for provision funding. We retained a consultant, Fossey Moore, who's a retired civil servant and an expert in program evaluation. And this board has worked with us, the staff level. There's also touch base with the museum advisory committee more through some of the meetings, but also an actual survey to get feedback on what went right and what went wrong, or what could be improved upon from the previous plan. So it was found that the implementation was a little bit uneven. So when it was identified the shortcomings of the current plan, things that we hope to implement and just never got there, communications, marketing, and funding were pointed out as areas of focus. And then in terms of the what was improved upon from the plan, collection management and facility operations were in pretty good shape, and we were able to get through a lot of the items in that plan that we hoped to do. We did a lot of capital improvements on all the structures of the mill, museum and gatehouse included. So through the survey, the responses that staff had, it allows one-on-one with the board and the museum advisory committee were quite a bit in line, and it did recognize the strengths in the collection management, and then also better communication and engagement. It also notes the financial pressure that has increased due to category changes in the funding. And also recognizes the board's direction through the 2024 land conservation resource strategy to look at a third party in terms of the management for the collection. So recommendation for priorities for the new plan. Number one, strengthen finances and community engagement. Boost volunteer recruitment and fundraising. Enhance the Naismith collection. So what we've done for everybody who hopefully will get a chance to go there when we go for the board tour, but we've moved the Naismith collection upstairs, get it out of the basement. We pulled from some of the items that haven't been on display, and we played out kind of a different area for the Naismith collection to hopefully, heighten that collection and bring it more to the forefront. So we're hoping that it'll have a little more exposure that way. Improve communication, which hopefully will include the design of a specific website or a portion of our website that is going to be strictly for the Milliken Town Museum. And then again, an addition that has been brought forward from the staff side is looking at securing a partner for museum operations and collection management. So in terms of next steps, as far as currently working on the final draft of the report since the last museum advisory committee meeting. We will be looking to update the draft of the strategic plan with the museum advisory committee input. The target is to have a draft presentation ready for the July board meeting, and we're hopeful. So we have secured a visit from the Canadian Conservation Institute which they put out a bid process. They have them come in and look at the state of our collection, things we're doing well, things that we can improve upon, recommendations based on what we have to work with. So as most of you know, it is a building that museum is situated in. There's only so much we can do in terms of regulating humidity and conditions for the collection. So they're gonna have a 2-day visit in early June with us. They're gonna go over, things that they think that we might be able to focus on. That we can improve upon, things that we're doing well in with regards to the facility and the collection. And we're hoping to be able to, incorporate some of those findings into that plan. They're also gonna issue a formal report. It'll probably come after the July board meeting, but we're hopefully going to get some verbal kind of points that we're gonna be able to include in that museum development plan, and find the July board meeting.
Meredith?
Sorry, but I just sort of missed the proper title of that, museum conservation.
Canadian Conservation Institute, CCI is close short.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Scott? Richard?
Just a comment that there's a lot of stuff here, but to me, on page 62, key areas to include those 3 things, those 3 actions: establish the finance and fundraising committee. And those 3 things, those are the key things to get done. If you don't do those 3 things, it's not gonna succeed. Like, that's all there is to it. And especially the 3rd one too, to make it valued by personal activities such as weddings and things. If you don't have that, you're not gonna be able to sustain a museum and everything else. And so I think it's those 3 things should be highlighted to get done in the strategic plan.
Any other questions? Bev online.
Thank you. Thank you. I think what's really kind of interesting is in the report that we got at the advisory committee, there was actually over 7,000 people, I think, who actually darkened the door of the mill last year, if I was correct. And that was like 2,000 more than the mill in town, the museum in town for the fabrics. So there's potential there. That, thank you.
Definitely, that was something that was brought up, is our visitorship is equal or above what the average would be for a small community museum. So that is definitely going for us. I mean, it doesn't hurt that people are coming to the conservation area to walk the trails, and they walk down the trails, and there's a big museum, you know, a cool looking building sitting in front of them, which helps them to be able to go through the city museum. So that is definitely working in our favor. But it's something that we do have going for us that we can build on, as we do have some pretty good visitorship right now.
Mary Lou, you got another question?
Yes, what is the current enrollment for your summer program?
In the summer education program.
Summer education program.
So we were, for summer camps, we were at 173 this morning.
And capacity is?
We've got about one for about another 100.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Scott?
There's none.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Item 9, purpose of use plan, I'm sure, so I will.
Let's go with this first.
As you're aware, we've done some surveys for staff, some surveys for board members, and I think, you know, through the discussions we've had at the board, we've had, you know, identified some things, but it's not just. I think that's a fair statement, that the board would benefit from, and myself and the senior management here, from probably a facilitator helping guide the discussion so that we can really determine where the organization needs to focus over the next 5 years. We did a lot of work in relation to the land conservation resource strategy and a sizable document that's to guide the organization for the next 20 years. But as to what within that, are there specific activities that we want to focus on in the next 5 years? Where does that really need to go in the short term, right? So I had a conversation with Roy and Paul after the last meeting. We agreed, we would benefit from bringing in a third-party facilitator to help us navigate that discussion. So on that basis, I went out and identified 3 very competent firms who do facilitation and strategic planning. And I asked them, I explained the context to them and the information we have from the work that's already been completed and shared links to, current documentation and the like, and asked each of them to put forward what they would recommend as needed, where we're not doing significant duplication of effort, but that we're engaging in a meaningful conversation that would move us forward to that we hope to identify the priorities, goals, and objectives. So on page 66 of the agenda package, you have the 3 options that were tabled, and though the wording between them is slightly different, for all intents and purposes, they are recommending a pre-meeting with self and Roy, who is very focused area to figure out just to make sure that they're on the right path. Then doing some pre-interviews with a subset of the board and senior management, and then from that, developing some sort of game plan for the facilitated discussion, areas of focus, that how they would make that happen, and maybe some pre-work for the board members to look at and consider, and then have the facilitation followed with them documenting findings that would help to inform the drafting of the strategic plan. So there is a significant difference in the option 1 from the options 2, 3, but in substance, there isn't. The difference is largely the fact that the consultant under option 1 was already associated with the educational institution, and that the advisory services are not at the same rate. It's really as simple as that. They are able to offer a not-for-profit rate that as people operating within Queen's University, that's consultants on the street are not able to offer. So this firm has done work in our region for one of the municipalities nearby, not necessarily in this jurisdiction, but I looked at other documentation they had prepared for nearby municipalities, as well as they've done it for CAs, and it seemed to be comparable in terms of product and quality to what I was seeing from the other firms. So on that basis, I'm comfortable recommending that we use that. So the recommendation is that we retain that consultant and that we use up to 6,000 from the operating reserve to pay for this assignment, since we hadn't originally budgeted to go external for support with the corporate strategic plan update.
Any questions for themselves?
It's not really a question, it's more of a comment. Extra money. I just, when I look at the cost difference, 4,000 to 19,000, and what you just said about the option 1 would be a fit, would work. It's still a lot of money. Is there no way that maybe senior staff, as well as maybe the 2 chairs, could do this and kind of have a skeleton that we could follow to maybe, sometimes when you get so many cooks in the kitchen and everybody's throwing their, their ingredients in, and it turns out to be a disaster, so they have a few less people fully knowledgeable, because you are guiding it. I'm cognizant of $6,000 is a lot of money, but it could be done in-house with fewer people, and then not really presented, but gone through so that everybody can hear it. I think the onus is on each one of us to kind of be, if we're presented with something that looks like a guideline, then we can comment on it. I think for me, as being a new member and not fully up to speed on everything, I just question my ability to contribute, or what I would say is irrelevant. I would lean more on the people, senior staff here, know what's needed. That's what I thought.
Well,
This might come back, is that we've already basically tried that in a couple of different ways. And there wasn't enough feedback coming back to provide the information for senior staff and board here to provide that. So what we need is somebody from outside that are professional in this, gals, because we have, I remember sending things out saying, please, people comment on this. And we're just not getting comments in, we need, so this person is gonna be able to make the phone. It'll be, I can the on whatever, so we can give in-depth comments to it and they can provide the information. That's how we got to this point, is the staff have already done lots of work on this. But come to that point where we just need somebody to put it all together and finish it all, which is what we're trying to do. And I agree that I'm glad to hear that the lower price one this came out with the same thing, and that you went back, because I realized you talked to him and said, I got these prices all over the place, it doesn't make sense. That this one would be so low, but very low, $6,000 for anything today is low ground.
any other questions or comments? Fair do.
Perhaps I missed something. But I can't quite find anywhere where these firms are made. Or, I know that you said you had done some research into their backgrounds, their experience. And I do agree that this is $4,100. And compared to the other two values, $800. As a participant, or potential participant, as a new board member this term, often I've found myself feeling like a genie, not really knowledgeable enough or experienced enough to feel confident in making comments about the future. A good facilitator can elicit a lot more information and certainly read the crowd. Anyway, I would support this option one, but I'm interested in knowing why none of them were named.
Pricing. In the case of Euro, our bylaw says, given the size of the contracts, we need to do full disclosure. So we do that. These are small competitive bids that are offered confidentially. You don't typically share the prices on such low contracts. Would be my first thing. That's the main reason why I didn't share with them. As well as some people have, do have feelings about the preferred firms, and to protect the board from any perception of bias. I didn't share the names of.
Well, then.
Yeah, just a second, Janet had a question first.
No, my only comment was, I used to do strategic management consulting. And I can tell you that $2,100 is a bargain.
Is it okay?
It's a bargain. And and Sally, I trust Sally's ability to review the different capabilities. And if she says that what we're gonna get for 4,100 is the same as what we're gonna get for 20,000, I believe. Okay, so just kidding.
Thank you. We don't have a purchasing for a lot of this way then. Like the question about the names, like any arms copy, the names to be there. There'd be no doubt that the names would be there, and it'd be in our bylaw that would happen. So does ours say it doesn't happen?
says it has to happen over a certain price. The only reason why I'm bringing this forward is this 6,000 wasn't in our budget, so it's new money, so you will have to approve. And secondly, it is, we have a tradition of how we go about the board tour. And I'm suggesting that because everybody has more or less booked that time anyway, that we utilize that time, because it is difficult to get you all in the room. So I wanted to bind the board to the approach and then to authorize the extra spending. Otherwise, these sorts of things would never come to you. Because the low value of the bid, that's typically something that's managed at this scale, at
So what is the value of their thing?
$100,000.
After $100,000, the board doesn't say anything.
Correct.
That's
If
budget.
it's outside the budget, yeah. If you pre-approve.
If it's in the budget, we don't get to comment at all.
So if you approve on a spending, let's say, take a road, if you approve that $100,000 on a road project, you do not authorize then the tendering because you are kept outside of that process for your own protection. You
Honestly,
authorize.
it is at the county or municipality.
I can-
County, all the tenders come to us.
Regardless of value,
So the bylaw right now, we're following the bylaw,
we're following.
so I think that's all we'll do right now.
Yeah.
Anything?
So just to follow up, if we don't know who the company is there any chance that we could be in conflict, that we have a connection
Yeah.
to? Like that'd be my first concern if I don't know who I'm dealing with.
Yes, so, they're aware of you, but I can certainly, the way that the brain is funny. So, geez, isn't that terrible? I didn't walk in here with the name of the firm. I can find that out and send that out to you guys immediately.
But if you don't know who the firm is,
No, but I'm
the only way we become conflict is if somebody put up and say, yeah, well, you knew my brother-in-law was bidding on it, now you told me.
yeah, but you know what, perception and reality are very
But
close, so like, just to cover. that.
No. So this is embarrassing because I truly can't remember the name of the firm. So let me follow up immediately after this board meeting. I should have had it right here, so.
can we approve it?
Any other comments or questions before we read the motion? Any online? Okay, I'll read the motion. Resolved that the board of directors directs staff to, 1, retain a consultant support update of the corporate strategic plan in accordance with option 1 of this report. 2, draw up to $6,000 from the operating reserve for this assignment. I need someone to do that. Jeff. Second it, Mary Lou. All in favor? Carry. And the last item, the result of the board of directors meeting be adjourned.
All hands up.
Meeting 7. Thank you very much. See you next month.
Yeah.